Good day, Green Thumbs. My name is Brandon, self-taught green thumb, master gardener to none. And today, I'm here to show you how I like to save squirrel planted trees in the yard in the fall. So stay tuned. So I'm kneeling here before an oak tree that probably a squirrel had planted. And if you actually look behind me, you could probably see some other sticks where my dad was marking them off so he could mow around them all summer long. And this happens to be the only one alive. And I noticed that it's actually starting to die back. So today, I am going to transplant it. And I'll show you just how I do that. So when you're trying to save a tree in the fall, you really have two options. One is you can dig this up and put it into a permanent location and keep it well watered until the first frost. The other option is that I can dig this up, put it in a container, overwinter it, and then plant it out next spring. And I'm going to choose the later option just because it's such a small tree. So step one, we're going to need some water, and I like to use a little kelp. So the first thing I actually like to do is I like to go around and pull out any of the grass that I can. I'm not so worried about getting the roots, more so just opening up the ground so I can see where my stem is and how big of a root system I should try to go for. There, so I got it pretty well cleared out. Here I got a little bit of pond water, and then here is my kelp. So this is micronized kelp. It's more readily absorbed right away instead of the regular kelp, which would take time to break down. So this is fast acting. I don't really take a measurement per se, but it doesn't take much. I'm literally going to use the size of a pea. About the size of a pea, I'm going to put it in there. Stir it up good. We also want to make sure we're not just pouring the water on and it's all running away. We want it to actually be absorbing. The reason why I'm doing this is, one, it's going to lessen the root shock and the stress to the plant. And the kelp is really going to help with that as well, along with stimulating the root growing process, because that's what potassium does. All right, so I gave it about a third of water out of that container. We'll let that soak in a little bit. For step two, we're going to need a container to put the tree in and a shovel to dig it out. And now I prefer to use fabric pots for this, mostly because we're in heavy clay soil. I think if you were in sand, you can get away with probably putting it in a plastic container. But if you're in heavy clay, you're gonna have to worry about drainage, and I don't have to worry about that when I'm using a fabric pot. And I prefer to use my easy swap pots. It's actually something I designed. There's a snap on each side to allow the fabric pot to completely open up and make transplanting truly easy. And that's gonna make this simple and less stress on the tree when I go to transplant it in spring. So that's why I'm going to use that, but you can use any fabric pot. So in the bottom of the fabric pot, I just got some compost thrown in there, and then I'm going to dig out a decent sized root ball here. Alright, so I just finished putting slices on all four sides, so now this should just easily come right up. Whew. And as you can see, we got one heavy clay soil and two a good sized root ball. Now I don't have quite the depth on my container, so I'm going to have to knock off some of this. So I'm using a 2-gallon fabric pot, and I'm just going to simply, ooh, that's still too big. Alright, so I just got done molding the root ball to fit inside the fabric pot. I'm using a 2-gallon fabric pot. I like to go a little bit larger just so I don't have to worry about watering it all the time. because it is going to sit outside for probably about 6 weeks before getting bagged up and put in the garage. I would say you could probably get away with a 1 gallon or even a half gallon if you're there to water all the time. So I don't have to worry about using heavy clay soil in this fabric pot. There, I got it in. And all I gotta do is just throw some extra dirt in there. And then other than filling in the hole, the last step is to put this somewhere where it's gonna get partial shade for the remainder of the season. So we made it back up by the house. I like to put it in this spot because it gets about 3-4 hours of sunlight in the morning before it's overcast with shade for the rest of the day. And as you can see here, this is a tree we saved in the springtime. It's put on some new growth, and this one will actually make it into the yard this fall. So now that I got it up here, I'm gonna go ahead and give it some extra water. Of course, you wouldn't want to water that right after we transplanted it if you got a far place to travel with it. And you can see we got one here from spring that we've been saving, and this will actually make it in the ground yet this fall. And it is in one of our easy swap pots. It's actually pretty well dried out, which is why we also like fabric pots. But you can see it'd be real easy to transplant. There, roots exposed, lift it up, put it into the hole. But since we ain't doing that right away, just gotta snap it back up. And we'll put it back in the crate. So I thank you so much for watching. I hope I helped you save a tree. Stay tuned for part 2 of this series where I'll actually show you how to overwinter these. Until next time, peace.